If your baby is born early, he will need the best possible nutrition and protection. Although he may not be able to feed at the breast in his first weeks of life, your breast milk is best for him, and you can express milk for him until he's ready to start breastfeeding. In this film, we'll meet 4 mothers and learn from their journeys as they learn to feed their preterm babies. Nicola was just 24 weeks into her pregnancy when her twin baby boys were born.
I'm quite in shock. We wasn't expecting them to be that early. It all happened very quickly. It was about 6 hours from the moment we realised something was going wrong to when they arrived, so very quick entrance.
In their first weeks, babies who are born very early may need help breathing and have to be fed by intravenous drip. But as they progress, they will begin to take milk feeds, usually given by tube, through the baby's mouth or nose. Breast milk is best for many reasons. Preterm babies are especially vulnerable to illness and infection, and in particular to a gut infection called necrotizing enterocolitis, which can be fatal. Breast milk, unlike artificial milk, contains protection against infection in the form of antibodies from the mother. And it has other important benefits. It's rich in hormones and growth factors to help your baby grow, and is easier for your baby's immature digestive system to absorb. Even if your baby isn't able to take milk straight away, it's important to start expressing as early as you are able, as this will establish your milk supply for the months ahead.
Immediately, on the day they were born, I was spoken to by the nurses on the intensive care unit, saying about expressing milk and saying how important it is, and I started straight away.
It can be easiest and most effective to start expressing by hand. Your midwife or neonatal nurse will show you how to do it, and you may find it helpful to watch the short film on expressing. You shouldn't expect to express a lot of milk straight away. In the first few days, your breasts will produce very small amounts of colostrum, the unique first milk your body makes for your baby's first feeds. Your mature milk won't come in for some days yet, and your supply will increase gradually if you express frequently.
It's not masses to start off with, but then the babies don't need masses at all to start off with, and it's the nurses here call it gold. This is the stuff that comes first of all, but even tiny drops are essential.
The amount you produce will increase gradually over the first few days, and then continue to increase as your mature milk comes in.
On about the 4th day, for me, I think my milk came in, and from that point onwards it's just increased steadily.
Many experts recommend you express 8 to 10 times in 24 hours during the first weeks of your baby's life, including at least once during the night to establish a good milk supply for your baby. A few hospitals have milk banks, which provide tested and heat-treated breast milk from carefully screened donors. The donor milk can be added to the mother's own breast milk if she isn't producing enough yet, or if she's too ill to express at first, it can be used until she's able to provide her own milk. Other hospitals can often order in breast milk from a milk bank if you request it. Most preterm mothers use an electric breast pump, although starting off by hand expressing is still a good way to stimulate the flow of milk. You can pump from one breast at a time or both together. Double pumping can save you time and help increase your milk supply. You may find that it helps the milk to flow if you express near your baby. There will also be a place you can express in private.
The whole setup is very relaxed, and there's a private room to do it in, and radio, magazines, those kind of things. So it's all a very relaxed setup, and it's so incredibly natural. Everyone is doing it in the unit, or if they can, they're doing it. So it's geared to help you express.
Even if you can't have a great deal of contact with your baby in the early days, expressing milk is a very important way to help care for your baby.
Expressing is one of the things that you actually can do, there's a lot of the time everything's taken out of your hands, but there's one thing that actually only you can do. So it made me feel like I was contributing a bit more.
When your baby is able to leave the incubator for a while, you may be able to give him some tube feeds yourself.
What I'm doing now, this is my breast milk which I've expressed, and he's having it through a tube. He has 10 mils. It's gravity which takes it down the tube, so it gently goes into his stomach.
You and your baby can also enjoy the tremendous benefits of skin-to-skin contact. You may hear this called kangaroo care. Skin-to-skin can help regulate your baby's temperature and heart rate, and it's a great way for you to get to know each other better.
It feels lovely having him on me like this. Just feel so close with them, and he likes it. I hear my heartbeat and just comforts them. I could stay like this all day. Amazing, isn't it, how peaceful they are.
Having your baby on your chest is also a good preparation for breastfeeding. Your baby will get used to the feel and smell of the breast, and you may start to see signs that he is ready to make the gradual transition to breastfeeding. Breastfeeding is tiring for preterm babies initially, and they won't be able to switch suddenly from tube feeding to feeding directly at the breast. But over time, they'll gradually take more from the breast and less from the tube. Preterm twins, Grace and James, have just begun to feed at the breast.
They got moved out of the incubators, which was great. They're in these cots now and you can lift them. And then gradually was putting them to the breast and seeing if they would take like even a small feed.
What I'm going to get you to do is just with this hand, if you can, is just pop that finger instead of on his head and behind his ear and just let him, almost like a shelf. You feel as though you're holding him in a shelf. And just...
Babies who are born early often need more time and support to help them attach well at the breast and feed effectively. Grace is already feeding well at the breast, but James is struggling, so Shirley's getting some support from a breastfeeding specialist.
That's great, good boy. Excellent. He hasn't managed to quite bring his tongue down, so just bring him back, let him have a go again. You'll take a few wee goes, take a go. Excellent. Well done, James.
It's important to get as much help as you need to ensure that you and your baby get breastfeeding off to a good start.
That's a great feeling to know that you're actually, you're now feeding them and not having to tube feed them and know that you're nourishing your own babies. Yesterday was their first full day and night of taking their own feeds and they did okay. They're a bit tired, but you know, they're doing all right. So, and then hopefully they'll get home and that'll be them.
Rebecca has recently brought her preterm baby son Theo home from hospital, and he's now feeding well at the breast. As with babies who are born at full term, it's best to feed your baby as often and as long as he needs. This may mean the pattern of feeds is less regular than in hospital.
When he was in hospital, he needed to be fed initially every 1 hour through the tube, and then every 2 hours, and then every 3 hours, and then every 4 hours, and then he had 4-hourly feeds. But it was quite a lot of volume, and when it comes to him suckling, he can't usually suckle quite as much. So at the moment, I feed on demand since I got home, and it's anything like, and in the evenings he often wants to feed more, so might feed every 2 hours. In the night, sometimes there's a 5-hour gap, and in the day it's more like every 3 to 4 hours. But he'll wake up and he'll demand it, and usually fall asleep when he's full.
Now that she's home with baby Theo, Rebecca is enjoying a special bond through breastfeeding.
But I think particularly for mums with a preterm baby where baby's not with you all the time, breastfeeding becomes even more important because it allows you to have that intimacy or to catch up with that intimacy when you get home.
If you have a preterm baby, you will need specialist support, so don't be afraid to ask for it. And don't forget, you may find it helpful to watch the short film on expressing.